And the Oscar goes to the English patient, Saul Zapp.
Welcome back to The Better Half. I'm Bradley J. Halverson, and here with me, her face is not burned off. It's Carly Corio. Hi, Carly.
Hi, Bradley. I liked that one.
Oh, okay. Well, do you like that today is also 420?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I totally remembered that.
Happy 420.
And how are you going to celebrate 420?
Probably the usual.
Couch TV.
Well, I just think it's funny because we talked before about the podcast gods and our wheel sort of looking out for us. But not only is it 420, but today we're going to be talking about the 69th Academy Awards. And I just feel like the stars are lining up.
How does the wheel know? And I don't know. I think about like Willem Dafoe, and all I can remember is him getting really high in Platoon.
Put your
and
mouth
now
on
we're
this.
talking about him. Yeah, exactly. And now here we are on 420 talking Willem Dafoe again.
Yeah, we like kind of owe it to the people to leave them feeling good and deeply satisfied, right?
Yeah, 100%. Our 21st episode, let's get it going.
Yeah, exactly. So we are here talking about The English Patient, directed by Anthony Minghella, released in 1996. It won Best Picture at the 69th Academy Awards, which took place on March 24th, 1997. We were alive, Carly.
I was
there.
I was almost 4. I can remember when this movie came out.
I know. This is our first time in the 90s. And I will say, looking at like that decade of movies, this is like one of two that I've never heard of. Like this movie, never heard of. Like, you're no Titanic, you're no Braveheart. Like, I've no Forrest Gump. Like, I'm like, it's like this and Unforgiven. I really have never heard of.
Yeah, I'm really interested to ask like my parents and people who like were older in the 90s if they've seen it. Because, I mean, it has to have been well known at the time.
Yeah, well, and it seemed like, based on what I was reading, it seemed like it was like a big hit. Like, people seemed to really love this movie. And I wonder where it sort of like fell out of the pop culture zeitgeist, if it ever really entered it. But, you know, this movie has, I think, a pretty stacked cast. There's Ralph Fiennes, who we famously know as Lord Voldemort. And Willem Dafoe is back. And some women I've never heard of, but
I know.
they intrigued me.
But they were phenomenal.
Yeah. And this is, you know, we're heading back to war in this movie. We're heading specifically to World War II, which we haven't actually really been to this specific war. Like,
I was thinking the same. I don't think we have really been to World War II yet.
Yeah. But really at the heart of this movie, it's a romance. It's a big old great love story surrounded by
100%.
War, tragedy, burnt flesh.
Yeah. I didn't really expect it to be such a love story, and I don't know why, because the cover of the movie is literally two people like naked. Yeah. So I don't know. I expected it to be more war-y, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it really is a big love story.
Yeah, this really does feel like a traditional Best Picture winner. Like, I feel like the first few that we talked about, like, it's another wartime story. There's like surprise romance. We're going to get nudity. We may even get a female death. Like, all the tropes are back, baby. So,
yeah, I'm excited to hear the lesser half too, just because, again, it'll be movies that in the 90s we probably have heard of. Yep. And I'm excited to hear more.
Well, Carly, let us know briefly, what the heck is this movie about?
Oh my God, absolutely. Since you asked, this movie is, at the close of World War II, a young nurse tends to a badly burned plane crash victim. His past is shown in flashbacks, revealing an involvement in a fateful love affair.
Love.
I think that's a really good short synopsis. It tickles all the things. So I hope that all of you are like, ooh, now what? I hope you're really interested.
I know. We already had the French Connection. Now we have the English Patient, you know, and next week we'll have the Italian Job and the American Pie. So
the American Pie.
The American Pie. All right. Well, let's just dive right in, because this is a 2-hour and like 44 minutes production. I was not thrilled about.
It was very long. Yes. And I will say, I kept looking at the time and being like, wow, there's still a lot of time left.
Yeah.
But as we'll talk about it, I think it was fine how long it was. So let's dive right in.
So we are transported. Really, we're going to be like in two different places. Really, because this movie is split into two stories. So we're going to be sort of towards the end of World War II. The present day is going to take place in Italy. And then a lot of the other half of the story is told in flashbacks, which is more so like right before World War II starts at the late 30s. And we're primarily like in Egypt, Northern Africa, like the Sahara Desert. That's actually where we start first, where we get like this like little plane, you know, a little 2-passenger plane flying over the desert. And we see like a blonde woman seemingly like asleep in the front, and a man who has like a pilot mask on, so can't see, but he's the one driving. And as they're flying over the desert, there are some like German soldiers on the desert seeing the plane, and they start shooting at it immediately. The plane bursts into flames. The guy stands up in his seat. I'm not really sure what his plan was, but this whole thing is like riddled with bullets, and then it somehow catches fire. I'm not sure. And you just see this like blast of flame hitting the pilot's face.
It was giving Wings, am I right?
Yeah.
Like shooting down this,
oh my God,
this biplane, right? Yep. I was like, oh my God. And
it crashes. We don't really hear or see what happened to the woman ultimately, but the man is saved by some locals, but his face kind of burned off.
Kind of burned off. Yeah.
Yeah.
No flesh was seen.
Somehow Ralph Fiennes looked better in the Lord Voldemort makeup than
Honestly,
he does here.
I looked up how long it took for makeup in this movie and Voldemort, and I was like, it had to have been a similar process.
Yeah. So we do get a couple of shots of it freshly burned, and then we're gonna like boom, cut to like present day. So this is Ralph Fiennes and what we know, and he is the English patient. This is where we're gonna jump to like present day Italy in the 40s, and we know some time or some years has passed here because his like facial scarring is much better looking for what it can be when your face is like burned off. So, and we're also going to get introduced to our female lead here, Hannah, Hana. So
Hana, a Canadian military nurse, right?
Yeah. And when we first meet her, she's like in full-on action mode. The men who are all like laying in beds dying are still finding time to sexually harass her, but you know, she's a cool lady. She's not bothered at all until one of these guys, like somehow, seemingly, coincidentally, is a part of the same sort of like Canadian troop as Hannah's boyfriend. And this guy's like on his like deathbed basically. And she's like, wait, but what happened? What happened to, I don't even remember his name, like so-and-so. And he was like, oh, that dude, he died.
Oh, dead.
Hannah falls to her knees.
Yeah, not happy.
Just finds out that her boyfriend is dead. And so when we see her here in this Italy time period, she is taking care of Ralph Fiennes' character. We don't know his name. We're going to learn too that he has amnesia, you know, a real Jason Bourne here. You know, he has no clue who he is. But yeah, Hannah is there taking care of him. And they're like in the middle of like a transport. So they kind of load up burned face guy up on a stretcher. He's in a caravan. It's like a long line of, you know, caravans. And we see that, you know, Hannah is again taking care of Voldemort here. And she's got a girl bestie, a gal pal, Jan. And she's like in a Jeep with a bunch of other guys. And they like have a quick little moment before the Jeep sort of like speeds off along the side of the road until boom, the Jeep explodes. They hit a mine.
Yeah.
And Hannah, within like 6 minutes of this film, has now lost her boyfriend and her gal pal, Jan.
Yeah, it's her no good, very bad day.
So the whole caravan has to like stop or whatever, right? And she's upset. And like they literally have like Ralph Fiennes like on the side of the road, still on a stretcher. He's like immobile, by the way, cannot really move. And she literally like, Hannah like leans over him and she's like, God, everybody I love just dies. I'm really cursed. I'm like, you're literally looking at a man whose face burned off. And she's like, gee, Willie, I got it bad.
You have no idea how bad my life is right now.
Dude, let me tell you about the day I'm having. And he's like literally sickly dying, face burned off. Doesn't even know who he is.
Hardly breathing on his own, looking up at her, immobile. And then she runs away, angry.
Yeah, towards more bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to quickly get introduced to two characters here, Kip and Hardy. And they're kind of like the mind's expert. And so we're going to get to know them a little bit more later. But we are going to see them a little bit like in action, sort of like canvassing the ground, looking for those hidden mines and stuff. And yeah, Hannah has this moment of just like absentmindedly just walking out into the middle of the road. And Kip and Hardy are like, Hannah, no. Hannah, stop. So she doesn't trigger any more mines. But yeah, she's like going through it so much that, and I don't really know how some of these decisions came together, but she decides like, hey, me and Burnt Face Guy, we're going to just set up camp at this like broken down monastery and I'm going to take care of him here. And we're also learning that not only is his face been burned off, but he's also like dying. Like he is like truly entering the late stage of his life. His lung is like all messed up or whatever. So she's decided she's going to step away from all of this tragedy, and she's just going to care for him in his last days here in this is like rundown, broken down monastery.
Well, because she had mentioned, she's like, we can't keep bringing him in and out of this train. Like, it's not good for him. It's been really bad. Like, we can't keep doing it. And I think one of the people leading the train was like, this is just how it works. This is what this is going to be until we get to where we're going. And so she's like, well, I'll stay here. And then she said, when he dies, I'll catch back up. So I even wrote that down. I'm like, okay, so she knows he's going to die. Like, she has no positive outlook for this, but I think she needed a break. She knew he needed a break. So she's like, all right, we're staying.
Yeah. And she really does her best to, like, you know, sweep up the rubble and, you know, clean up the mess a little bit. There's like a perfectly nice, like, full-size bed for our burned guy to just be on for literally the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Lucky.
She's gonna take care of him. And there was like a shot of her like feeding him like goop, and he was like,
It was a plum. She's like, look, we have plums out there. And he's like, plum. And she's like, yeah, look, we have these plums. And then she like, it's really like a very disturbing scene. But, and then these noises are not, we aren't being overreactive with these noises. It was like, and then he's like, very plummy. She's like, I know.
Yeah, it was like a close-up shot of her like pushing the goop into his mouth. Like,
his
I just
lips didn't
hated
move.
it.
She just pushed this squishy plum through his burned lips.
Yeah.
But hey, it's the little things, I guess, when you're burned alive.
This is where he's going to be spending his last days. And I will also say the only possession that he has is this like old book. And we're going to come to learn later that in this book are a bunch of like letters, little drawings, sketches, basically mementos of what his past life is. And this is really where we're going to enter the flashback phase of the story. And we're going to learn quickly that our burned face guy, we can finally reveal his name, so we can actually call him by a name, but he is Laszlo Almásy.
Almásy, and that's what they call him, Almásy, pretty much the whole film.
Yeah.
And the book that he had was Herodotus.
Yes.
Just a note, because it's not really relevant to the movie, but I feel like it's an important piece of the movie.
Yeah, Almásy, he's definitely like a philosopher of sorts. Like he's a historian. His actual job is like a cartographer. He creates maps and stuff and is an explorer. Yeah, he very much has this sort of like intellectual mind. Yeah, so I would say like that's his characterization. And in these flashbacks, he is a part of this crew, this sort of like exploratory crew out in the Sahara Desert. And they're just here to, again, like create maps, explore the area, and learn more about the region.
I don't know if they made this up, like being corny, but they called themselves the International Sand Club. Like, you couldn't have picked a better name. Like, that's very like high school, you know? So yeah, I mean, it was a group of what, maybe like 10 people that were all came together to explore, survey the land, all of that.
Yeah, and in this crew, the ones we're going to be paying attention closely, Almásy has a guy friend, Maddox, and then there is a married couple, the Cliftons.
Young, hot Colin Firth. And his wife, Catherine Clifton, played by Kitty Scott Claus. What's her name? Kristen Scott Thomas. Kitty Scott Claus.
Viewers, if they're paying attention, Catherine Clifton, a pretty blonde woman. Okay, she's got blonde hair, and she's the only woman here. And like the men can't be any more like weird about that. They're just like, she's like constantly sort of at the center of attention. She's like telling them stories around the campfire about like an old queen who loves to like get naked until like one man like catches her and watches her be naked, and she's like, well, you can kill the king and take me for yourself. And I think all of this is meant to be like foreshadowing, you know, some subtext.
I literally
here.
wrote foreshadowing. Is Almásy going to kill Jeffrey? I think that's his name, Jeffrey.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, what is this all foreshadowing? So yes, it very much gave that feel.
Yeah, because the camera definitely lingered and like make sure that we see that Almásy, like there's a lot of like stolen glances over at Catherine. There's a lot of like, I don't know. I would call it, some foreshadowing, some sort of setup that like Voldemort here, Voldy, he might be into Catherine. And so, but she's a married woman. And so we're going to cut back to the present day because we got to get introduced to Willem Dafoe, who is going to just very randomly show up.
I said Willem Dafoe shows up, ? He literally just walked up into this random monastery in the middle of nowhere. I was like, how did you find them?
He's like, I don't know if you've ever seen on the internet that old man who's just at the gate. He's like, let me in. But that's basically what Willem Dafoe does.
Yeah.
And Hannah's like, okay, yeah. No follow-up questions. Come on in. He like brings her like some eggs and he's like, oh, I'm Canadian. So I'm okay. I'm a good guy. You can trust me. And she's like, okay, sounds good to me. Okay.
Well, I don't know if you're going to get to this, but she goes and tells Almásy, she's like, oh yeah, this guy's here. He's like, do we trust him? She's like, oh yeah, he's from the same place as me.
Right.
And I wrote down this whole quote because I loved it. He's like, why are people always so happy when they collide with one from the same place? What happened in Montreal when you passed a man in the street? Did you invite him to go live with you? And it's so true because, I mean, especially as an Ohioan, we always say, like, everywhere you go, there's other Ohioans. Right. And if you meet someone and you're like, oh my God, like, you're from there? Ah! And it is, you just feel this, like, comfort with them. And it's like, why? You know?
Yeah, Almásy doesn't know his own name, but he's here spitting facts and truth about life.
Yeah, he did not forget his thoughtful nature about everything.
Yeah, so he does kind of call into question. And we should say, too, like, we're not really clear, like, how much time is, like, passing in between these jumps from the flashbacks to the present day. You know, definitely a budding sort of friendship between Hannah and Almásy is, like, growing where they can kind of have this banter and this, like, back and forth. And Willem Dafoe's character is David Caravaggio. And I'm just going to call him David. And the other notable thing about David here is he has no thumbs, which it took me actually too long to realize he didn't have any thumbs.
I didn't realize he didn't have thumbs till we see him lose his thumbs.
Right, yeah. Because he wears these like black kind of mittens kind of deal. And when he first arrives, he has some like eggs or whatever that he's providing Hannah, but he drops one of them. And, you know, the camera definitely made sure to like make a moment out of that. And she's like, oh, I should take a look at your hands. And I kept being like, why?
Why?
Because he's clumsy? Like, I thought he had arthritis or something. I didn't know. I didn't realize his thumbs were actually missing. So, and I will say David here as a character, he brings a certain level of menace. And we know, because we've talked about this before, Willem Dafoe is famous for playing bad guys until Platoon. And so we're questioning sort of his presence here. And he's pretty quick to go straight to Almásy's bedside and basically hint that like, hey, I know who you are, buddy. He was like, does the name Count Almásy mean anything to you? What about Catherine?
Yeah.
So it's like immediately clear to us, the viewer, that like, oh, like David's got like beef with this guy whose face was burned off. And we don't yet know what that's about or whatever. David clearly seems to have more information than Almásy does and doesn't really believe that Almásy has this like amnesia. Like he calls into question several times.
Yeah. I think it seems like it's helping him because he is kind of like,
He's like,
yeah. Yeah, but then you like, I think as the viewer, you don't know if this is good or bad because like Brad said, you kind of sense you're like, something's not right here. It doesn't seem like the best intention.
No, yeah. And that's definitely going to be one of the unfolding mysteries of the movie. And I'll say one of the other things this movie I wish could have helped me out a little bit more was like, I didn't really get a sense of like Almásy like regaining his memories. I didn't know if every time we were like flashing back, was that also Almásy remembering those specific scenes and that specific time in his life? Or like, I don't know, I kind of like lost progression of like how much of his memory did he regain over the course of the movie? Was he fibbing? Are we meant to believe that it's kind of ambiguous? You know, not really clear on that. So
I kind of got the feeling that when we saw something, it was kind of coming back to him, mostly because it would kind of like connect to the now and with like little like sounds, or if the piano was playing and it would kind of like tie into what's happening now. So I think maybe obviously not as many details, but I think it might have been kind of showing that he's gaining a little bit at a time. But that's a good call out because I had the same thought. I was like, is this because he's remembering it or we're just seeing it as the viewer? Yeah,
seemingly by the end of the movie, he seems to have everything put together again. He's cracked the case. So, and a little bit later, and again, I'm not really clear on like the passage of time here, especially in present day. We're going to see a night scene between David and Hannah, like in the kitchen. And there's there's barely any walls in this place. Like there's no soundproofing at all. So like a lot of times you're always seeing like one of these characters overhearing the conversation of the other two, no matter where they're at. Because again, it's a broken down monastery with like
there's like holes in the walls. Floors. Yes.
Right. Yeah. They're in the kitchen, David and Hannah are, and at one point he's like, are you in love with him? And
yeah, they're always talking about each other. Right, and then they like will pan to the person they're talking about and they're just laying there listening. Right.
I'm also like wide-eyed hearing all of it because he has no eyelids.
Yeah.
And Hannah is like, I'm in love with ghosts, and so is he. Which I was like, Hannah, cut the shit. Like, what are you talking about? So I think the movie's trying to nip this in the bud that like the romance is not between Hannah and Almásy, that their relationship seems to be platonic, but David does kind of call it into question, being like, do you love him? And again, it's like, David, why are you even here? You know, it's like, again, it's like, you're a guest here in the broken monastery home. So
you found us. Why are you coming here and questioning us?
Don't point those thumbless hands at us, okay?
It's like, you know that feeling like when you point at someone, you have blah, 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 more fingers pointing back at you? It's like, it's not always the case, I guess.
So back into the flashbacks, we are going to get like a quick market scene where Almásy and Catherine like have a quick moment walking through this like Egyptian market. There's like some banter back and forth. I guess like Almásy is an intellectual here. He's not necessarily the most socially like savvy person because Catherine doesn't seem particularly impressed by the things that he's saying. And he's, I guess, making social faux pas, although I wasn't really paying attention. But the gist is like there is sort of like that classic sort of like, especially from Catherine's point of view, like, I'm not super interested in you. But, like, I think the point of the scene is that there is some sort of tension. There is some sort of chemistry between these two. Later that night, like, they're going to be, like, at a hotel and, like, all the men are at the bar and they're like, where's Catherine? And they're like, well, it's a men's only bar. She's, like, sitting outside by herself. And so the men all grab their chairs. And, again, they're very, like, Catherine-centric. Like, they're, like, too eager and excited about a woman in their presence, in my opinion. But, but they all go and join her outside or whatever. And then there's like drinking and then there's like dancing. So we do see Almásy and Catherine share like a quick dance. Things are softening between the two of them. And I'm like, in my notes, I'm like, are they going to fuck?
I literally wrote Almásy and Catherine want to do each other. So same.
Yep, so bad. And so guess what? We got to get rid of the husband, right?
Right.
Colin Firth, he's like, hey, I gotta go on some secret assignment. Can't say too much about it, but I'm gonna go. And we should also say Jeffrey Clifton here. He's a pilot. He knows how to fly planes. So he kind of jumps into a plane and he takes off. And well, before he does too, Almásy's like, "Do you think it wise to leave Catherine, a woman, alone in the desert?"
I was like, "Is this like chivalrous or
right? Was he like?" Or was he fearful about being alone with Catherine without her husband around? Jeffrey Clifton, he's not worried. He's like, she is her own person. And if she wants to stay, she wants to be here. Like, she's excited about this and to do all this exploring. And yeah, she's her own person and she's an adult. And fuck off, Almásy. And he's like, oh,
fuck off, Almásy.
So Colin Firth is going to exit the story for a little bit, but he'll be back, I promise. But the whole point is now Almásy and Catherine, they get to be alone. There's no husband around, no pesky little husband, right? But we got to cut back to the present because, again, this movie is just constantly cutting back between these two timelines. And the monastery is going to get a new arriver, right? So we're going to see Hannah playing at this like broken ass piano in this broken ass monastery she's chosen to perform her nursing duties. And as she's playing, suddenly Kip arrives, our mine expert. Kip is played by Naveen Andrews, who I know.
I've never seen him before in my whole life.
You have seen him in most of the first season of a popular TV show called Lost. He played Saeed Jarrah, and so I was fully bricked up to see Kip here.
Sure.
He's screaming at Hannah to stop playing the piano. And he's like, the Germans have laid traps all over these places. And I'm thinking, like, the fucking piano in like some monastery. And he quickly gets in, and like within 3 seconds, he finds a bomb in the piano.
Okay, but meanwhile, he walks up and she's playing the piano. Kind of loud. He walks up, shoots a gun, and says, you need to be quiet. I'm like, you just made a much louder noise than this fucking piano. I was like, what are you doing?
And if you think this is happening through an open window, it's not. It's an entire hole in the wall to which he climbs through to enter the broken down monastery.
He could have said, hey, stop. But he shoots a very loud gun and said, the Germans are everywhere. You need to be quiet. I was like, you're the one who just used a firearm.
Yeah, not the best, but he does save Hannah's life. And she's like, wow, thank you so much. And there's like possibly a new budding romance here. There's some more chemistry to be had. So yeah, we're going to put a pin in that mind for now. And we're going to cut back to our flashbacks. And Almásy, his exploratory group, they're going to like discover a cave. And the cave has like cave paintings in it. So again, he's like super bricked up. She's fully engorged. They love this cave. They love the cave drawing. She's like she's an artist. She's like recreating the drawings like in her own little like sketchbook or whatever. But they're super excited to have apparently discovered this cave on their own. I don't know. On the way back from the cave, so there's like 3 vehicles. They're all traveling back, and like literally in the Jeep that Almásy's in, there's like a guy like riding on top of this Jeep across the, on the sand dunes or whatever. And the driver's like constantly talking to like the guy who's like on top of the vehicle, until the guy on top of the vehicle literally falls off the car because of course, he's on top of a moving vehicle. And this causes the like one of the tires to like hit the ridge of a sand dune that makes the whole vehicle go tumbling down this sand dune. Amateur hour here in the International Sand Club. So this car crashes. Oh no, what are we going to do? And so some of the guys are hurt or whatever. They kind of get loaded up on one of the vehicles and they're going to like take off, really leaving behind the damaged vehicle, one other vehicle, a couple of guys. And then of course, Almásy's going to stay behind, and Catherine is quick to be like, oh, I'll stay behind too.
I'll stay.
And so they're like, okay, well, we'll be back at some point. They literally drive off to wherever they're going, I guess Cairo. And for Almásy and Catherine, they got to like hunker down for the night. It's nighttime. And she's like looking up at the stars, all like happy to be exactly where she is. And Almásy comes over to ruin the moment to say like, hey girl, there's like a little sandstorm coming.
You see that cloud over there?
Pull your eyes down a little bit. Okay, you see all that? Okay, that's sand. Okay, and we know because we're in the International Sand Club. And so next thing you know, they're in this like huge sandstorm, and these 2 guys that are with them, they get into sort of the toppled vehicle, close the car door, and Almásy and Catherine get to be in the right side up vehicle, close the door, and that's where they hunker in all night. And so Almásy and Catherine get to have like this nice intimate scene where their car is literally being buried by sand. You can see it on the window. It's very claustrophobic, but they're just
cuddled
fine.
Up,
they're all
cozy.
cuddled up. They're like, hey.
No, you have sand in your hair, babe.
Ooh.
Ooh.
He's like obsessed with her clavicle or whatever. Her collarbone. They keep it PG here, people. No lines are super crossed here. And in the morning when they wake up, they realize they're like buried in sand, at least on one side of the car, but they're able to get out of the other one. But the other car, the one that's toppled over, is completely buried in sand.
You don't see it at first. You're like, where the fuck did that other car go?
Yeah, they're first worried and like running up to the top of the sand dune looking for like the return vehicle, the one that's gonna, Maddox is supposed to come back and rescue them. And then after like 5 minutes has gone by, they hear the car honking of the buried vehicle, and they're like, oh yeah, those random 2 guys that were with us. And they literally have to like unbury these 2 people who were buried alive. Terrifying. Again, I don't see the appeal of the desert. I don't think I would ever put myself in such a position just for like some fucking cave. Like, no way.
Right.
And during this whole time, Catherine lets Almásy know that her husband is not just like this explorer guy. He's actually like he's like a British spy. Like he is, and he was basically called on assignment. So he's basically here to explore the area as a tool because they are all preparing for what we know is going to be World War II, right? But we're in the early stages of it. And they think that this North Africa region, the Sahara Desert, like they want to map out this area as like an asset for the British Army and the British intelligence services, to which Geoffrey Clifton is a part of. And so now Almásy kind of knows this. And so they're waiting for Maddox to return. And he like asked her, he's like, hey, why don't you put some of those drawings you made into my book that I have with me, the book that we know that he still has in the present storyline. And so she's like rifling through the book and like finds all of his like ill-concealed love letters. Like,
did he not think this through? Men are so freaking stupid.
So dumb.
He had written about like all these things, basically just wrote K for Catherine. Like K's clothes fit her like perfectly. I wonder if he notices. Like I paused and they were just really romantic things about her, and she's like, not stupid. So she's like, reading through this book that he told me to go in.
She's literally like, she walks over to him and she's like, so who's K?
Right.
Like, what a code name. Like, Jesus Christ, pick anything else. And so he's like, oh, you saw that? Oh, how embarrassing for me. Oh, my face is so hot. Foreshadowing. And so, again, they're getting closer, right? And we're going to cut back to present day where Almásy from his bedside is like talking to Hannah, and he's like trying to play matchmaker himself. He was like, hey girl, I think Kip is into you. Like, do you like Kip? And she's like, shut up. And she like slaps his face. And like they've like Kip and Hardy We should also say Hardy is there, his pal. And they've like set up some tents outside, so they're not staying inside the monastery because there seems to be one bed. I don't even know where the fuck Hannah's sleeping in that place, but they set up some tents, and we do see some like shots where she like looks outside and like he's like shirtless and like out there.
Yeah.
And she's like, ooh.
Long ass hair.
And she's into it. So, and so things are starting to heat up in this romance because we're going to cut back to the flashbacks. Almásy and Catherine have successfully made it back to Cairo. They're back in the hotel, and Almásy's there in the room by himself initially, and then Catherine comes in, and they fuck.
Okay, but before they fuck, she walks in and slaps him hard across the face. Like, super hard.
Yes.
Walks right toward him with passion and just slaps, like one of the hardest slaps I've ever seen in a movie. And then they like kind of like look at each other and then they do it. But they have a very passionate love scene.
Yeah, so they are gonna start trysting here. Yeah, so they've officially started their affair, and Jeffrey Clifton is like not yet back, and in the present day we're gonna see like Hannah's gonna like be reading through this book as well, and some of these love notes, and there's like one where like Almásy like wrote this because he's like a poet, but he's like, oh, young lovers, the heart is an organ of fire or whatever. It's like, okay, Almásy, don't quit your day job. So Hannah's like asking questions about it. She's like, clearly there was like a woman that you loved. We're gonna like cut back to the flashbacks to him writing that poetry, that like heart is the organ of fire, and it's happening at this like Christmas party, which is, it's very similar to like the Moroccan Christmas party in The Office. It's like full desert. Meredith's in the corner, her hair is on fire. They're like all in an outside courtyard. It's like hot as fuck, and like Jeffrey Clifton is like back. Colin Firth is back into the story. He's dressed as a Santa. This is now like the third movie
Santa.
where a grown man's dressed as Santa.
You're so
this
right.
Could have been our Christmas movie. And Almásy, like, they're all having fun. It's like there's like a huge gathering of people here, and at one point he kind of is able to get just a quick moment with Catherine. He's like, hey, you should fake an illness. You should pretend to faint or something so we can go fuck. She's like, oh, Almásy, get over it. It's like Christmas Day.
Can't.
Oh, damn. But then she goes out there and she immediately is like, oh, the heat.
I wrote this was Briar Blush vibes. Just fucking falls. Did I just fall? Did I just faint?
Did I just faint?
Did I just faint?
Catherine was not going to squabble this opportunity to fuck.
I'm not going to squabble this opportunity.
And there's like some random nosy ass old woman that kept being like, are you pregnant? Hey, you almost fainted. Are you pregnant? Are you a child?
Yeah.
Touches her stomach. It's like,
I was like, they
fuck.
paid this actress just to be a nosy old lady? Like, get out of here.
So Catherine skips on over to Almásy, where they have a very heated
Yes, this
fuck
is where
scene.
I wrote steamy sex scene. Very steamy. I think the steamiest we've seen.
I think
easily.
literally we even cut to like the outside courtyard, and then it's like there's like a window where like we can see the silhouette of them like boinking.
And they're singing like jingle bells out on the courtyard. Like these little kids are singing, and you see like movement in this blurred out window. It's 100% the steamiest sex scene we've seen so far.
Oh yeah, like he starts slow, and then they get really hot and heavy into it. And when they're done, Almásy like runs it to Jeffrey Clifton, and he's like, "Hey, where's Catherine?" And he's like, "Oh, I haven't seen her." He's like fixing his hair and like,
have you seen Catherine? He's like, "No, I haven't. Sorry."
He's like putting his dick back in his pants and fixing his hair. And he's like, "No, I haven't seen her."
And like beads of sweat all over him, like sweaty as ever.
And Jeffrey finds his wife, and she's literally like passed out, like her face is flushed, all red, her hair's all a mess, and she's like, "Oh, hey," like looks deeply satisfied.
Right.
And he's like, "Hey, I heard you almost faint." He's like, "That woman out there kept saying you might be pregnant." She's like, "I'm not pregnant." And I think Jeffrey like gives her a kiss or whatever, and then he does make a comment about like how she smells or something like that.
Yeah.
A little bit of a clue that like perhaps, and clearly they're not being careful here. I mean, so yeah, we'll cut to present day. Hannah is definitely the smitten kitten with Kip, and David is also getting closer to Almásy, just not in the way that he would want it, but keeps being in his bedroom, making all these sort of like comments, like trying to like interrogating him, trying to get him to sort of like reveal information. We don't yet quite know like what David's deal is. And Almásy, like, who is literally bedridden, again, his face burned off, like is dying, is just like, Jesus fuck, man. But he takes notice of David's hands, the thumbless hands. And he's like, what's under those mittens? What do you got under those mittens?
What's going on?
And David's like, oh, you wanna know what's under these mittens? You wanna see? And the camera literally, like, as he's like taking off the glove, we cut to the past.
Yeah.
Back to flashback. We're gonna learn that David in the flashbacks, he is also a part of this like secret British intelligence. He's like a co-worker of Geoffrey Clifton. So he has a connection to the Cliftons.
I feel like it was kind of like a reveal. Like
it was,
we were with Jeffrey, like he was talking in this like office scene, and then you see David walk in and you're like, whoa, like, oh, I really wrote like Caravaggio is friends with the Cliftons.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. So that was a big like reveal.
Yeah. So they're buddies, they're pals. And, you know, sometime later though, when Geoffrey Clifton is not around, like the area in which David is at, Tobruk, I believe it was, like is invaded by the Germans. They come in full force. They know exactly what they're doing. They have the area scouted and they're like lining people up, interrogating them. And David is not suave enough to evade capture. And so we are going to get this very pleasant German torture scene. David won't give up any of his information. He won't reveal that he is, you know, with the British Army, or the Germans are trying to pull this information out of them. They're trying to say like, hey, we know who you are. We know you go by the name Moose because you're from Canada. And David refuses to give anything up. So they like bring in this woman, this nurse. I guess David's kind of known for being like a thief, for being pretty well known for like being able to take things. And they're like, what's the punishment for thieving? Oh yeah, we'll take your thumbs. And and they do. So
they do. And you see it like, you see pretty much one of his thumbs get half cut off.
Yeah.
They like call this nurse, like this very innocent nurse in.
She's like, hey,
what's
like,
up? Cut it off.
She's
and
like, okay.
She does.
So now we're starting to understand a little bit more of what David's deal is and why he's like in the present day sort of so, I don't know, so intense. And with Almásy here, he's talking to Almásy in the present time being like, somebody gave the Germans the maps to this area. They knew exactly where to go, and that led to my thumbs being cut off. And he's like, and I want to know what happened to the Cliftons. And he's being very like vague about it, and he's very much blaming Almásy. And Almásy's like, I remember the amnesia. I don't know.
I don't know anything. I'm just a stupid boy. I'm just a burnt man.
Pretends to fall asleep.
Faints.
So yeah, we still got a little bit of time to find out what truly happened here.
Well, and Caravaggio mentions that he's on this like revenge tour, right? He's like,
oh, true.
I'm out to get, he's like, I
killed all the torturers.
I killed the guy. Yeah, I killed everyone who's done me wrong. I killed the guy who chopped my thumbs off. I killed the guy who took my picture and showed, that I was with the British Army. I killed the guy who shared the location with the Germans. Or he said he's like looking for that guy or something. But he's basically like saying I'm on this revenge tour. Yeah,
he's like, it's a not so veiled sort of threat that like he believes Almásy's kind of the last guy he's looking for. He believes Almásy, who we know is a map maker, cartographer, like, he believes like Almásy is responsible for whatever happened to the Cliftons, TBD, and is responsible, at least indirectly, for the loss of his thumbs and for, good people who were killed during that German siege of Tobruk. So that is a lot of what is going on. And we're going to cut back to the flashbacks where like war has really started. It's really kind of halted the international CN clubs, activities and bocce ball tournament and whatever they were doing out there. And so, yeah, war is starting to heat up. The other thing heating up, of course, is the secret love affair. And, we're going to get like a scene, kind of a montage really, of Almásy and Catherine. This is where, we're going to get like a saucy little bathtub scene where, Ralph Fiennes is in there. No nudity, just shirtless. And she's going to like fully strip down. You're going to see full bush, full boobs.
I was like, Brad's so disappointed right now.
I just want it on the record that I did notice this naked body, this naked woman.
All I could think was Brad thinking, my eyes just naturally glaze over the body of a naked woman.
And she like gets into like the tub, this like small ass tub like behind him, right? It starts off really lighthearted, and then it's sort of like the realization that like she's married, like what they're doing is wrong. And he was like, you should basically leave and forget me. And she's like really pissed about that kind of comment and gets, within 2 minutes gets back out and, another shot of her full naked body. It's not all ending because we see them sort of at a market. He buys her this like thimble, this Monopoly piece.
Yeah.
And he's like, here, have this as a token of my love. And she's like, okay, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this?
Thimble? Thanks.
Okay. And Geoffrey Clifton, though, he is starting to, he's cracking some cases. He's starting to put the pieces together. He just happens to be like in his Uber and sees Catherine Clifton like walking around outside. And so he follows her to this like hotel where they've been trysting. And so Jeffrey's putting the pieces together and war's starting to heat up. It's really like halting all the exploration plans. Things are getting tense. And at a night scene, we're going to see a scene between Almásy and Catherine. And she's going to break up with him. She's going to say like, hey, she's like, I'm worried what Jeffrey will do. This isn't right. Things are kind of tense with the war. And I'm going to make it on my own with my husband.
I'm going to make it on my own. And she's like, I think she even says like, he's going to kill someone. Like she says like, he has this anger and it's not good. And she's basically like, for my safety and your safety, like we just can't.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this on my own.
And so, sometime later, there's like some sort of like social gathering happening with the International Sand Club. Almásy shows up drunk, is a total ass to everybody.
Yeah.
And it really kind of just solidifies things in place. And Maddox, who is Amalshi's buddy still, he's like, hey, I have to head back. He's like, I'm going to leave this plane for you. This is just Act 3 setup. Here you go, buddy. I'm going to like leave the movie now. So that's a lot of where we leave the flashbacks. And in the present day, a lot of things are happening too. First, Hannah and Kip are gonna fuck. So he like lays out a bunch of candles, like leads her to some like dirty ass basement. And then I wrote like another boob, which I thought said another bomb because there will be another bomb here later. But it says another boob.
Another boob.
So we will see Hannah, who I don't think we said, played by Juliette Binoche.
Yeah.
So she also offers some tasteful side boob as well. So her and Kip, fuck. But then Hardy kind of comes over to interrupt things because a bomb has been discovered. And so Kip is like quick into action. He's like, we got to go defuse this right away. And Hannah's like, wait, no, my curse. Like, you can't go do this. Like, no, what about me? You're going to die. Kip's like, it's literally my job. And we do. We get this whole like Kip and Hardy defusing the bomb scene. And it's very tense. It's kind of a nothing burger because we're made to believe this bomb is going to literally detonate. And I guess the war is ending. And so there's like tanks of like soldiers celebrating
like
the war.
The ground starts like shaking. And they're like, what the fuck is going on? And then they like pan up and it's the Americans ruining everything. We like come with our like thing of tanks and we're like waving the American flag. We're like, the war's over. And Kip's down there like
Kip's trying to like cut wires.
Next to this has this huge bomb that's about to detonate and we're just up there waving our flag. But it's okay. Kip guesses the right wire and it's fine.
It's fine. And Hannah though, like she got on her bike and she bicycled all the way out there. And the bomb is diffused. It's a success. Hannah's like, my curse has been lifted. Wow, this movie really is about me. And the war's over, so they are all at the monastery celebrating. They're all dancing. Poor Almásy just has to watch from his bed. Can't partake.
Oh, yeah.
There was like a rain scene too, which was really nice. They brought like Almásy out kind of like on a stretcher. And even David was like nice. And like, they brought him out to the rain so he can feel the rain. And he talked about like that was important to him. Yeah. We're going to see Hardy. He's like in downtown Italy, like partying with everybody. And they're all drunk. And he's like, I'm going to put this flag on this statue.
I'm going to climb this statue.
And we cut back to the monastery where it's like Kip and David and Hannah and Almásy. And then suddenly there's like a loud explosion. And Kip, who is so good at his job, he immediately flees. He's like, I got to go. There's a bomb. And we find out that the Germans had, of course, as Kip warned us, left booby traps everywhere, bombs everywhere. And there was one on this statue that Hardy, unfortunately, was climbing onto. It exploded, and it killed our good friend Hardy. And now Kip is like, no, I'm cursed. The curse has hit me. No, Hardy.
And Kip is devastated. Won't even talk to anyone. Like
Hannah's like, hey, buddy. And he's like, nope. And David's also there to like ruin the fun, too, because he's like back at Amalshi's bedside. Finally reveals like, what happened to the Cliftons, who gave the maps to the German, and who killed the Cliftons. Like, finally reveals to us that the Cliftons, both Catherine and Jeffrey, are dead. And David is demanding to know the answers. And he's like, did you do this, Almásy? Did you kill them? And Amalshi's literally like, he's like, I might have.
Maybe I did.
Maybe I did. Cut to flashback. And this is really the big climax. This is the big reveal of everything that David's been trying to pull out of Almásy. In the flashback, Almásy back on the desert, hanging out, doing his thing, starts hearing like an engine, turns around, and Jeffrey Clifton is flying a plane directly at him.
Into Almásy. I couldn't believe my eyes. It seemed like some like movie, like gag movie.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
It was wild.
It was bizarre. But yeah, he's literally diving into Almásy suicide diving his plane.
Yep, and he's a pretty bad pilot because he manages to completely miss Almásy. Not even a scrape, not even a scratch, no fake blood from the French Connection on him. And he goes over to the plane crash, Jeffrey Clifton, dead. But then he notices Catherine was there too. Catherine. And she's alive, but she's injured. She's not doing well. And so this is what happened. Jeffrey Clifton obviously found out about the affair. And as you said, Carly, was planning this sort of like double murder-suicide with a plane. Yeah. There had to have been a better way to do this, Clifton, and he only managed to take himself out. So
right. You did that so wrong.
Right. And so this is pretty tough. Catherine Clifton she's not doing well. She's gravely injured. And Almásy they're out in the fucking desert. And so Almásy remembers that plane that Maddox left him for the third act of the movie. And he's like, oh yeah, I need to go get that plane. And so he has no choice but to bring Catherine to the cave, the one that they discovered and like, I guess the beginning of their love story. Lays her there, gives her like a few things. And he's like, I'm going to go get this plane. I'm going to come back. I'm going to rescue you. You're going to be okay. And he notices that she's wearing the thimble, like the thimble on a necklace. And he's like, you wore it? You never stopped wearing it?
And she said, of course, you idiot. I always wear it. I've always worn it. I've always loved you.
And she's like, can you now please go fucking rescue me? And he's like, okay, yeah. This was kind of a momentum killer, but like he literally walks for 3 days just across the desert, finally makes it to this like little town. I don't even know if he made it truly to Cairo or he just made it to the next sort of like outpost, village, whatever. And there's some British guys there, non-Germans. That's great. That's a good sign. But they don't trust him. Almásy comes in. He's all out of breath. He is like seriously dehydrated, heat exhaustion, all of that. He's trying to explain, hey, I need that truck over there. We got to go rescue Catherine. Like, she's dying in a cave. And they're like...
At one point, he said, my wife is dying.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Sorry, you missed that really romantic part. He's like, there's a woman. She's like, there's a woman. He kept saying that. And then he's like, please, my wife is dying. And I was like, oh.
But they're like, but what's your name? What's your ID? Give me your like passport. And he's like, my name is Count Almásy. And they're like, that's a weird sounding foreign name.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So they think he's a German spy and they detain him and they
put him on a
train, but he gets out of it. Finally makes it all the way to the plane that Maddox left him. And Germans are there, and basically he has no fuel for the plane, and the only thing that he can do is provide the Germans these maps that they want, so for some fuel for the plane. And so he does, like David accused him, he did provide the Germans the maps, gets the fuel, flies all the way to the cave. Meanwhile, she's writing him a letter with her dying lights left in the cave, and he gets there, he gets to the cave, and she's dead.
She's just like cuddled up, like almost like she's been really cold and she just isn't moving.
And this was pretty like effectively emotional. Like he lays next to her, and then he eventually like kind of wraps her up in a white sheet and like walks out of the cave, and he's like openly sobbing. The music's swelling. It is very. It's just sad.
How he like. And it was like how he walked into the cave. It's like, you feel like the whole plane ride there, he had to have known. Like, it's been at least 3, 4, maybe even a week. Like, you just get the feeling that he knew what he was walking into. And it was pretty. And he just like, laid next to her, like, caressed her hair and just kind of like held on to her. And then, just him leaving the cave with her all wrapped, sobbing. It was very sad. And in the present day, he said, so yes, she died because of me, because I loved her. And then he said, because I had the wrong name. And that really hit me hard.
Yeah, so that's important too, because we were questioning sort of like, what does he know? And so clear at this moment, he's like telling David. That's why I wonder if these flashback scenes were actually him remembering in stages, like what we were seeing is what he was remembering kind of deal. But yeah, he lays this all out for David, and, Willem Dafoe takes it in, and he's basically going to, rather than seeking revenge further, he's basically like, he's going to choose to like let go, move on. He doesn't forgive him. I would not go that far.
Yeah. Willem Dafoe said, I thought I would kill you. And Almásy says, you can't kill me. I died years ago. Yeah.
It's so crazy tragic. I mean, like, because if you think about the beginning of the movie, so he walks out of the cave. Now we know that was Catherine in the front of the plane, dead, not asleep. He gets into that plane, and as soon as he takes off, his plane is shot down, and his face is burned alive, and he's dying here years later. Like, that was his whole day that day. He gave the Germans the maps, And then other Germans repaid him in kind by shooting his plane down and burning his face off.
What a way to kick me when I'm down.
And then Hannah still had the audacity to lean over his face and say, I'm the cursed one.
You have no idea how hard my life is right now. Just the way this all like culminated in the end, I really liked. Because I feel like there's some characters and stories that you just kind of assume we won't get more info on in the past. But I loved how this all wrapped up.
And so we gotta do some housekeeping here in the present day as the movie is ending. Kip is going to get reposted, but there's sort of like, I'll see you later. Like, it's not like a closed door at all. So they're hopeful that they can maybe rekindle a connection. But, Kip has to continue to find those booby traps and continue to do his job. And very reminiscent of how $1 Million Baby ends. Hopefully you listen to that episode. But, Hannah is with Almásy, and Almásy begins to like push the morphine vials that, she's been administering to him, and he pushes multiple and indicating like, hey, can you please help me let go, and Hannah agrees to do this.
But sobs at the same time.
She's devastated to have to do this, but she knows like this is what he wants. She's willing to do this. And he wants to hear Catherine's letter that she wrote him, that she stuck in his book in the cave, and as he drifts off to sleep. And so Hannah reads him that letter, and
I have the whole thing pulled up on my computer because I want to read the whole thing. Let me just read part of it, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
It says, I'm afraid I wasted the light on the paintings and on writing these words. We die rich with lovers and tribes, tastes we have swallowed, bodies we have entered and swum up like rivers, fears we have hidden in like this wretched cave. We are the real countries, not the boundaries drawn on maps with the names of powerful men. I know you will come and carry me out into the palace of winds. That's all I've wanted, to walk in such a place with you, with friends, on earth, without maps. I got like super body chills.
That was so worth it. Yeah, I'm glad you read that.
Right? In the movie, Hannah starts reading it, but then it cuts to Catherine's voice. While they're reading it. And I got full body chills listening to that. I actually got a little teary-eyed just because the way that it all kind of wraps up. This quote is about like life and love and death and friendship, and I just loved it. So and that was what she wrote to him in his book. Yeah,
definitely a poignant way to end the movie. And we basically see Hannah and David, they are departing with the troop, similar to the start of the movie, and they're heading off. That is the end of the movie. That's The English Patient.
That's it.
We did it.
The end.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about our rating. Let's talk about our general thoughts about the movie. Carly, I know you're much more in the camp of enjoying a good romance. I'm wondering what effect did this movie have on you, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, I liked the movie at first, and by the end of it, I really liked the movie. Like I said, I guess I knew there was a love story. Again, if you see the front of the movie, it's just two people kissing. But I don't know why throughout the first half of the movie, I thought it would be more of like a war tale. But this beautiful love story, and I guess I thought Hannah was going to be more the main character.
Same.
And so for the fact that Catherine really became kind of the female lead in a way, because she's the woman in the love story. I mean, it's a tragic love story, obviously. It's a tragedy at its core, this whole film. But I just loved it. I loved the backdrop of war without really getting too deep into war.
Yeah.
But I liked that it was there. I liked all the side characters and how you really got like an arc from each of them. I liked how the movie wrapped up. People, we know where they started and where they ended. I thought it beautifully did past and present too. Movies don't always do that very well. But yeah, those are my initial thoughts. I'm really interested, Brad, because I know you don't care about love stories there that much. What you think?
If I were to find any gripes with it, I think the movie is too long. I think the movie also had a narrative challenge to overcome, doing this like flashback present day storyline, because, and this is my like writer's hat on here. Like, it's really difficult to have two compelling stories happening at the same time that you're cutting back and forth. And I do think the present day stuff was not as strong or as effective or like developed as like like if this movie was just purely the flashback story from start to finish, like I think that's a really good 90-minute movie that I would love. But I agree. I think like the Hannah character, I think a lot more could have been done with her. And I almost don't need the Willem Dafoe character at all. Like, I just think like instead I would have loved to have more bedside scenes between Hannah and Almásy where she's asking him questions and he's remembering with her. And it's like their sort of friendship. It's more from a positive place of him remembering all this trauma versus like David's sort of like menacing revenge storyline.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Kip is also kind of a distraction from, I think, what that could have been. But, you know, I think Hannah's very surface level, like, I'm cursed and now I'm not cursed. Like, I just think there could have been a little bit more there. And I think the ending, when she chooses to help him pass on, could have hit harder because, like, we would have seen more of this, really, like,
them develop.
Because to me, $1 Million Baby does it a lot better because we saw the whole movie of, like, Clint Eastwood and Hilary Swank's relationship where it's truly heartbreaking. And here it's like, it is still heartbreaking, but it could have hit a lot harder if we saw, like, the Hannah Almásy relationship a lot more, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, and I like that you said that. It almost felt like the Hannah, Kip, David, they were all like half-baked stories almost. And they were all good stories, and it's interesting too because we start to see Hannah kind of fall in love with Almásy in a way. And then when David gets there, he's kind of like, oh, you love him. And but I think that love isn't really dived too deep into. And there's this one part of the movie that we didn't talk about, but they were talking about like Almásy again. He's like kind of a philosopher. He's like, a thing is just a thing no matter what word you put in front of it. He's like an old car, a new car, you know, a fast car. It's all at the center of it. It's just a car. And then Catherine says, she's like, yeah, I guess like familial love and romantic love, or, you know, she's like, that's just love. And so I feel like that was kind of that putting that in, like there was so much love across this film, but so I liked that kind of theme throughout it. But I agree. I would have liked more between Hannah and Almásy because I think at the beginning you kind of think that's the story. Yeah,
right. Yeah. No, I totally did. I mean, it's called The English Patient. So I'm like, okay, we have our nurse, we have our patient. This makes sense. And in terms of screen time too, we just spend a lot more in the flashbacks than we do in the present day. Like we cut away from present day. And there's just not much going on, in my opinion, in the present day as opposed to the flashbacks. So again, I think it's a hard narrative challenge. I don't think the movie completely like nailed the structure that I was going for, but it certainly had a very specific story that it was telling. Yeah. This is, you mentioned it, this is based off of a book, and Count Almásy is like a real life guy. This is like a fictionalized version of his life, but in some of these characters in these places, the movie ends with that, letting us know. But so it seemed like there was a very specific vision, and I do think in terms of this being a Almásy story, it's pretty comprehensive. I think it's pretty layered. It's pretty well rounded. We get a beginning, middle, and end. It's horrifically tragic. Yeah. Like, this is like, this guy is so cursed. I just can't stop giggling about
Hannah's curse.
I don't, and it seemed like people really loved it at the time. I think my impression watching it is like, that was a fine film. I don't think it like, it struck all the deep emotional resonant chords as some of our other films did. Yeah. But I don't feel like I wasted my time watching this movie. And I appreciate the swings that it took. So
yeah, it's a good way to put it.
So with that, let's talk about the emoji we chose. We had to get a little creative.
Yeah. You had texted, you're like, I don't think there's a clear emoji for this movie. Yeah.
There's not a good desert. There's not a good thimble. There's not a good little plane. You know, you just get the big plane. But
there's no biplanes. Yeah. I guess I thought there would have been a thimble. I'm like, how can Monopoly have a thimble and not the 1,000 emojis on iOS? But yeah, what's going on? Brad thought using, what was it? Chat GPT, you came up with a good one.
I Googled, yeah. I was like, what emoji represents this movie? And so Google AI, I guess, like told me there is like one kind of desert one, but it has like a weird sort of canyon butte and a cactus. And maybe we'll use that for like Lawrence of Arabia. You know, we can save that one. And then it showed me like a map, which would have been like my second choice. And then the third one, and the one that we ultimately decided on, was the heart emoji, but specifically the one that is on fire.
On fire.
And Google AI was literally because...
Yeah, what'd they say?
They were literally like, oh, because of the romantic nature of the film and because he was burned. His face was burned off.
When you texted me that, I was like, okay, we're not doing that. That's really fucked up. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, okay, it's actually perfect. Like, burning love and
the heart is an organ of fire, you know, is a quote from the movie.
He does say that.
So that is what we have settled on, and guaranteed we would never use that emoji for any of these other movies. Like, I'm calling it now. So
no,
but I'll be brave. I'll go first.
Okay, I'm really interested.
And I am giving this movie 3 burning hearts.
Okay.
I think ultimately I land in a neutral zone. And maybe it was just like maybe my headspace that night that I watched it. You know, any sort of factors could be at play here. But from my honest viewing experience, I thought the film was fine. I've already talked about some of the positives and then some of my squabbles with it. And
I'm so glad we worked that into an episode.
Me too. We have to. So yeah, so ultimately I land at a 3 here with The English Patient. And Carly,
fair.
What about you?
Through the first 2/3 of the movie, it was a really good 3 movie for me, and I think by the end of it, it was up to a 4.
It got to that 4.
Yeah, it 4'd up for me.
Yeah.
I just really liked how everything tied together. I liked the tragic love story. I think just the screenplay too, I really liked it throughout. There were a lot of lines that I like backed up, and yeah, I would say I give it a 4 burning hearts out of 5.
I respect it.
And to keep going, I would say this movie is for the girlies. I'm just gonna say it. Yeah. Like, I don't think it's like a chick flick by any means.
No.
But I think it's a good love story, and I would never tell my girlies not to watch a good love story.
Yeah. I'm gonna say it's not for the gays.
Yeah, that's fair.
I just didn't find any literal or metaphorical queerness at all. Sure. They didn't show us Ralph Fiennes' penis, and he strikes me as an actor who it would be comfortable doing
do it.
full nudity if he hasn't already. So yeah, I'm a little disappointed in that. And
we couldn't even get Ralph Fiennes' butt, you know?
You're so right.
Yeah.
Wings gave us butt.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's rank it.
Okay, yeah, this is going to be interesting.
You might be a little higher on it than I am, so maybe this will be more of a discussion. Where I ultimately landed was in C tier, either above or below Oliver, which is the last movie we have in C tier. Yeah, so C tier, I don't think it's a D tier movie at all. So
yeah, no, I like C tier. I was thinking higher in C tier, but I think I can concede to it being lower than Nomadland because I do think I liked the whole of Nomadland better than the whole of this movie. So I would agree. Right below Nomadland works for me.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm like really sure.
Okay.
Like I said, I think I was thinking second in C tier, right above You Can't Take It With You. But I do. I think I probably, again, it's just this one's fresh on me. I just really loved a lot of the chills it gave me in the last third of the movie. But I think as a full movie, I really think it is at a good spot, second to last in C tier.
Because I've started to think about this in terms of our ranking conversation. I'm almost starting to think like who, between the two of us, who's just more passionate about the movie and respecting the more passionate person's POV and conceding to that person. Lately, what's been happening in my mind of like, oh, okay, like Carly cares more about the English Patient. She should have a higher say of where it's at. It's
movable. So I think, you know, I realize I just watched The English Patient. It's fresh in my mind. Maybe in a couple weeks, I'll be like, I can't sit well with The English Patient being below Nomadland. So we can talk later, but I think that's a good spot for now, for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, before we get to the director, let's drop that Rotten Tomato score. Carly, do you have a guess?
Yeah, my guess for this movie would be based on what I read.
Yeah.
It was well liked, not well loved. I would say 85.
This movie got an 86 on Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm very good at this game. I'm actually really proud of that because I did not see anything.
I thought you were going to go higher. I think 86 is actually towards the lower end of the spectrum that we get with winners. It's certainly not the lowest. The Greatest Show on Earth got us covered there, but like English Patient like is right below Chicago, which got an 87, and it's right above Going My Way, which got an 85. So it sits right in between those two movies. We agree Chicago is like too low.
Yeah.
85 feels right for Going My Way.
Yeah.
So it was a little like, oh, I thought people really loved it, and we're going to talk about the Academy Awards, where it's going to do very well at this Academy Awards. So I'm a little surprised at the 86. I'm not going to lie, but that is
not me. It was right where I thought it would be.
You were the one critic they surveyed, and
exactly.
This movie was directed by Anthony Minghella, who is no longer with us. Sadly, passed away in 2008. But Carly, you made a quick comment. You were wondering if perhaps Anthony was related to anybody. And I can confirm that Anthony Minghella is the father of Max Minghella, who is from The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh my gosh, Nick in The Handmaid's Tale, which is interesting because Ralph Fiennes' brother.
Oh my God, Joseph
Fiennes is Mr.
in The
Waterford.
Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah, I really have only seen Max in The Handmaid's Tale. I hear he's like doing some hot saucy stuff right now with Kit Harington and Industry.
What?
Yeah, so I might go check it out.
Sounds like something you would watch.
Sounds like it's for the gays.
Worth a gaze?
Anthony, he's also directed Truly, Madly, Deeply, which is not a movie I've seen, but I feel like I've heard that title. He directed The Talented Mr. Ripley and Cold Mountain, starring Nicole Kidman. All movies I have not seen, but I have heard of. He did not have a lengthy filmography, and there was nothing really like juicy, podcast-worthy stuff, but just seems like a solid director.
Wow. He doesn't look anything like Max Minghella.
No, yeah, must take after his mother. And speaking of, Max Minghella, who is a great actor, I thought we could do something different.
Oh, what's that?
And maybe we talk about the actors before we talk about this Academy Awards.
The lesser half. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, great idea, Brad. So first I did a little deep dive, as I usually do, on the book versus the movie.
Oh, right. Yes.
So the book is written by Michael Ondaatje. I'm not really sure how to say the name, but so a couple of differences. So there's actually a prequel book that was written before this that is considered a prequel to this book. It was called The Skin of the Lion, and Hannah and Caravaggio are characters in that book.
Oh.
And they knew each other very well in the book. So in the book, Hannah and Caravaggio are friends that knew each other in Montreal. So here they're we're just from the same place, but in the book they have a lot of backstory to them.
Interesting. Okay.
The movie focuses a lot more on the love affair. In the book, I guess they just do a lot more, you get a lot deep into every character, whereas this was, as Hollywood does, focused on the love story.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I wanted to bring up about that isn't actor related was, I don't know if when you were doing any research, you saw the Seinfeld episode about this movie?
No, I saw on Wikipedia that it was referenced in a Seinfeld episode, and I didn't do any further dive into that, but
so I guess
did see that.
Season 8 episode 17 is titled The English Patient, and I guess it's about Elaine goes to see this movie with someone she's dating, and they walk out of the movie, and he's there's actually a 4-minute clip on YouTube if you go watch it, and it's all the English Patient related scenes, but she walks out and he was like, oh my god, that movie was fantastic, and she's like, I kind of hated that movie, I don't see what everyone's talking about. And he's like, what? Yeah, he's like, what are you talking about? That was great. And then a bunch of her friends come out and they were like, oh, while you're sobbing. They're like, Elaine, didn't you love that movie? She's like, no, I literally thought it was stupid. And then she said, then she goes to work and everybody at work's talking about this movie. And she's like, and they're all like, oh, we love this movie. And her boss is like, Elaine, didn't you love that movie? And she's like, because she doesn't want to say it because everyone keeps getting mad at her.
Yeah.
She's like, I actually haven't seen it. And her boss is like, that's it. We're all going right now. Elaine has to see this movie. So they go to the movie theater.
Oh,
Elaine's sitting there watching miserable. They all come out and they're like, oh, this is the worst movie ever. And her boss is like, you're fired. I can't believe you would say that. You're fired. So she gets fired, loses a boyfriend. All of this. She's like, I don't like this movie. She's like, quit telling your stupid story about the stupid desert and just die already. And she just goes off about this movie. So you have to look up on YouTube.
That is so funny.
So funny. Exactly. So you have to look it up. It's literally 4 minutes and I think you'll enjoy it. So then I looked into the actors. I looked into just a few. So Ralph Fiennes, of course, Voldemort in the Harry Potter movies. 4 through 8. And one interesting thing about that is in the Half-Blood Prince, when they have, young Tom Riddle at school and stuff, that is Ralph Fiennes' nephew that plays him. We will talk about Ralph Fiennes again in another World War II movie, Schindler's List.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Another movie from the 90s that we have heard over The English Patient.
Right, exactly. And we'll talk about Joseph Fiennes when we talk about Shakespeare in Love.
Oh, yeah. Another movie from the 90s that I've heard of.
Love. Yeah. The Fiennes brothers just took over the 90s. It took him 5 hours every day to get into this makeup. I guess it was a lot, of course, for him.
Yeah, no wonder why the present day scenes were so short. They were it was like a gift.
Right. It was like a one day to shoot all of those. And then we will see him later this year in 2026 playing Coriolanus Snow in Sunrise on the Reaping, the new Hunger Games movie. So look for him there. Juliette Binoche, I looked up her. I think you will get into this, but she does win an Academy Award for this film. In her speech, she goes up and she says, I can't believe this. I did not even prepare a speech because I was sure Lauren would win. And she is talking about Lauren Bacall for The Mirror Has Two Faces. And she's literally like, Lauren, you should have won this. We all agree. And she's like, that's all I have to say. And then she walks off. Like, she did not really give any speech. She said, this is amazing, and walks off. She was in a 2013 movie with Kristen Stewart and Chloe Grace Moretz. Other than that, like, there weren't any other movies that seemed relevant at all. But apparently she's like a big star.
Yeah, I was like, I've never heard of her. Like, it's kind of blowing my mind a little bit, especially like you're in a film like this, and we'll get into it, but she is the only actor who will take a win for this movie. She and Kitty Scott Claus. I feel like everyone, even in the trailer, it's like, oh, these two leading ladies. I'm like, I don't know who those two are. We'll just kind of go to Kristen Scott Thomas. She is a dame. She's Dame Kristen Scott Thomas. I guess she was considered for this movie. She was one of a few left. One of the other ones was Nicole Kidman. So it's interesting that you mentioned that he directed another movie with her. Yeah. And I guess the way that she got the role is she wrote a letter to Anthony Minghella saying, I am the K in your film. And he's on record saying that is the line that got her the role. Wow. So it's kind of cool. One other interesting thing is her father was a Navy pilot and died in a plane crash, which is sad. And then I guess her mom remarried, and her stepfather was also a Navy pilot, and 6 years later died in a plane crash. And she really dies in a plane crash in this movie. Right. So very interesting. So I had to bring that up. Willem Dafoe, I wanted to touch on him. I know we already have, but this movie is not even in his top 10 highest grossing movies, which I guess if you consider his line of his work and all of the Marvel of it all, Spider-Man. It does make sense. Yeah, exactly. It's like all Spider-Mans and then like Finding Nemo. So one thing I did want to bring up is I guess he's in this movie Antichrist. And I looked him up, and it basically said Willem Dafoe wants people to stop talking about his junk. And I was like, what? So there's this story out there about he's in the movie Antichrist, and he has a full frontal nudity scene. Okay. Right. So you're going to go watch that movie. But they... Okay. How do you spell Antichrist? You could do it on your Jesus podcast, Spin-Off Jesus podcast. Oh, yeah. I got to start working on that. Yeah. But I guess he is has full frontal nudity, and the director said, okay, we need to reshoot this with a body double because, quote, everyone was confused on set because his penis was too big. They needed a body double with a smaller penis because everyone was, quote, confused on set. Can you imagine being the guy being approached that's like, hey, we need a tiny dick. Do you got one? That's what somebody on the article I was reading, they were like, imagine being the guy that was like, all right, we need the smaller dick on set. Like, raise your hands, like, yes. Drop hands. Yes, it reminded me of Joey. Like, I am Al Pacino's butt. Al Pacino's butt. Yeah. So I don't know, just something to think about. If you look it up, you can see it. Well, yeah, now I'm intrigued. Yeah, you can see this scene. Sounds like he doesn't want me to talk about his junk, though. No, I wouldn't talk about it, but you could definitely look at it. So yeah, I think we can stop talking about his dick now because he asked us. But the only other person I looked into was an actor named Naveen Andrews, who was in a show called Sense8, and I think that's the only notable credit. No, but that is funny that you would bring that up as a second choice because Sense8 was critically loved by a lot of gay people. And I know people loved Sense8, but yes, he was in Lost, and Brad's a big fan, so I felt like I had to say something. Yeah, he has a beautiful love story there too, Carly. You really need to get on it. You need to get back. Thanks for letting me go before you talk about the lesser half. That was a really good idea. Thank you. I take full credit. Okay, fine. Carly suggested this. And we'll probably keep this format moving forward, and we'll just end on the Academy Awards. I think that it is kind of nice that we keep all the movie stuff together, and then we talk about the Academy Awards. But yeah, okay. So let's hear about the format change. Yeah, we're here at the 69th Academy Awards. This was hosted by Billy Crystal, and after Bob Hope, who is the guy who has hosted the most amount of Oscars, Billy Crystal is the second highest number guy. Second highest numbered guy. Billy Crystal hosted 9 times. And so this is actually his 5th time hosting, but it's our first time talking about Billy Crystal because, of course, a lot of his are going to be here in the 90s, and it's our first time here. So we know Billy Crystal. He got started on that one episode of Friends. We get it. It's funny that you mentioned Al Pacino's butt because Al Pacino presented Best Picture. Ooh. And he's only a 1-time Oscar winner. I did not realize, but of course we will talk about Al Pacino in depth when we do our 2-part Godfather episode of The Better Half. Woo! I know, I can't wait to see how that turns out. So let's talk about the lesser half. I do think I recognize 2 of these 4 movies, and I know you will too. So 5 movies in total. The first one is Fargo. directed by the Coen brothers. It had 7 nominations and 2 wins. We've already mentioned one of these wins because Frances McDormand wins Best Actress, and it's her first Fargo. So they also win an original screenplay. I mean, Fargo has to be, of these movies nominated here tonight, Fargo is easily the most famous one. FX just has done a whole spin-off anthology series around Fargo. I assume the Coen brothers were doing things before Fargo, but to me, this was probably like a launching pad. Frances McDormand is also famous for winning an Oscar, starring in a film directed by her husband. So
we love her. We love her on this pod.
Yes. Oh, friend of the pod, Frances McDormand.
Friend of the pod, Frances
Welcome
McDormand.
anytime.
Yeah, anytime.
We're waiting. The next movie, and Carly, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your mom likes this movie. It's Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire. I was actually thinking, I was like, was Jerry Maguire 1996? And I knew that we had talked about it because of Renee Zellweger.
Yes.
And I'm so glad it was this year. Yes, love. Show me the money.
Jerry's here.
Yay.
I've never seen this movie.
Really good movie. I mean, it has sports in it, so you might not like it, but
5 nominations. Jerry only gets 1 win, and that is for supporting actor for Cuba Gooding Jr.
Wow. He is a big role. It's a very famous show me the money line.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I didn't look up who directed Jerry Maguire, but of course this is Tom Cruise. Like, I think a lot of people, especially millennials, we know Jerry. We know Jerry. Yeah. Jerry and Fargo. So again, like 2 well-known movies, and then there's The English Patient that win. So I just think it's interesting.
No, for sure. Jerry is also the movie that has famously said, "You had me at hello."
Oh.
I don't know if you've ever heard that line, but it's a very famous line from that movie.
I heard it just
you had
now.
Me at hello.
Okay, our next movie is called, this is where I haven't heard of these. The next one's called Secrets and Lies. It's a comedy drama, and it's it's a British film, so a lot of British people. It had 5 nominations and 0 wins. So sorry, Secrets and Lies.
Sorry.
You're a little too secretive. You're a little too lying. The last movie is Shine. This had 7 nominations and 1 win. The win was for Best Actor for Jeffrey Rush. And Shine is it's a biographical psychological drama.
About whom?
Based on the life of David Helfgott, a pianist who suffered a mental breakdown and spent years in institutions. And Jeffrey Rush, who we know as Captain Barbossa from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, was in that title role and wins the Oscar.
Oh, wow.
So as you've heard, we've already lost 2 of the acting categories. We know Julia Binoche is going to secure a win. The English Patient as a total had 12 nominations and 9 wins. This was a pretty dominant night for The English Patient. So much so that the people watching this Academy Awards was kind of bored by it. It's going to get a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes for the 69th Academy Awards, which is fresh. It's right at that threshold.
Okay, good job. The threshold?
Yeah, a lot of people were bored because it was so predictable and so dominant for The English Patient. So,
wow, Elaine must have had a say in that.
She was pissed this night.
She was like, why does everyone like this movie?
So 9 wins. Let's run through them. Of course, Best Picture. Anthony Minghella is going to win Best Director. Congrats. Julia Binoche will win in Supporting Actress. It's going to win in Art Direction, Cinematography, Costume Design, Editing, Dramatic Score, and Sound. It loses in Best Actor, so Ralph Fiennes does not win, loses it to Jeffrey Rush. And Kitty Scott-Claus loses Best Actress to...
Our girl.
Yeah, so she loses to Frances, and then it loses in Adapted Screenplay. So you really liked the writing. It did not win, unfortunately.
What did win?
A movie called Sling Blade.
Oh my gosh.
Has Billy Bob Thornton in it. Yeah, I was hoping, for it being the 69th Academy Awards, I was hoping there would be like juicy, sexual scandals. Yeah. But this was a pretty tame Academy Awards. One noteworthy thing I decided to write down was Muhammad Ali helped present an award, and at this point he's like battling Parkinson's, and it was just like a heartfelt, emotional moment for this Oscars. And I guess Cuba Gooding's acceptance speech was the opposite of Julie Binoche, where he kept talking and the orchestra started playing and he didn't care and he just kept talking and trying to steamroll, and he kept being like, stop trying to push me out, and he like kept going with it.
For 12 minutes.
He received a 13-minute standing ovation, eclipsing Charlie Chaplin's record by a whole minute. And that is the 69th Academy Awards here on 4/20 in the year of our Lord, 2026. We did
all
it.
You guys go 420 it. Go relax. Whatever that means to you, go relax.
I imagine everyone listening to this was high and has already fallen asleep probably 20 minutes into this episode.
But thanks for listening, honestly.
Thanks for listening, and hope you listen to us next time for our 22nd episode, where we are discussing No Country for Old Men.
No Country for Old Men. You know how Brad and I feel about men in movies.
And
they're not allowed in this one.
Directed by the Coen brothers. We've already mentioned them, so podcast gods are keeping us on track here.
Yep.
And so I have not seen this one. Film bros, I know, love this movie. I think straight men are fully bricked up about No Country for Old Men. So I am curious to see what the hubbub's all about and see all these bricked up men.
Will this be a country for gay men? We'll see. Find out next week.
All right. Well, Carly, love you.
Brad, I love you too. Bye.
Bye.